Just when it looked like Jessica Pegula had taken control of the biggest match of the tournament, everything changed. The scoreboard still showed the American in front after claiming the opening set, but the momentum that had quietly begun to shift. And then, just as Alexandra Eala started to build something special, the rain arrived once again, forcing players off the court and leaving millions of tennis fans around the world wondering what would happen next. For Alex Eala, this wasn't simply another rain delay. It was an unexpected pause in what could become the most important comeback of her young professional career. The championship match suddenly entered uncharted territory. Pegula, the tournament's top seed and one of the WTA Tour's most consistent stars, had done exactly what elite players are expected to do in big finals. She weathered pressure, capitalized on key opportunities, and secured the opening set 6-4. Experience appeared to be making the difference. But anyone watching closely noticed something much more interesting beneath the final score of that first set. Alexandra Eala wasn't being overwhelmed. She wasn't intimidated by the moment. And perhaps most importantly, she wasn't playing like someone who believed the match was slipping away. When the second set began, the entire atmosphere changed. Eala stepped onto court with renewed confidence, striking the ball with greater conviction, and refusing to let Pegula dictate every exchange. Point by point, game by game, the young Filipino began pushing the world number 3 further behind the baseline, forcing longer rallies and creating uncomfortable situations for one of the tour's best players. Then came another twist. Rain. Again. Play was suspended with Alexandra Eala, leading 2-1 in the second set, leaving the championship hanging in the balance. That single scoreboard tells only part of the story. Because while Pegula technically remains one set away from the title, Eala finds herself in exactly the kind of position every underdog hopes for, a chance to reset, regroup, and restart the match with momentum already on her side. Sometimes, in championship tennis, timing changes everything. A rain delay can cool off the player who is beginning to lose rhythm. It can also give an exhausted competitor valuable time to recover mentally and physically. History has shown that weather interruptions have altered the course of countless major matches, and now many fans are wondering whether this unexpected break could become the turning point that Alexandra Eala needed. Social media exploded almost immediately after the suspension was announced. Filipino supporters from around the globe stayed awake through the night, refreshing updates, sharing encouragement, and refusing to give up hope. Across different time zones, thousands continue believing that this final was far from over. And perhaps they have good reason to believe. Because beneath the headline score lies a far more encouraging reality, one that suggests Alexandra Eala is much closer to turning this championship around than many people realize. The numbers reveal a fascinating story. And once those statistics are broken down, this final begins to look far different from what the scoreboard alone suggests. The opening set may have gone to Jessica Pegula, but championship matches are rarely decided by a single set. More often, they're won by the player who makes the smartest adjustments. And as this final unfolded, there were already signs that Alexandra Eala was beginning to solve the puzzle. Pegula came into the match with every advantage imaginable. She carried the higher ranking, years of experience in WTA finals, and the confidence that comes from consistently competing against the world's best players. She knew how to manage pressure, when to absorb pace, and when to attack. From the opening games, those qualities were on full display. Rather than chasing spectacular winners, Pegula built points patiently. She targeted safe margins, extended rallies, and waited for opportunities instead of forcing them. Whenever Eala's first serve didn't land, Pegula stepped inside the baseline, immediately putting the Filipina under pressure. It wasn't flashy tennis. It was disciplined championship tennis. That approach gradually earned Pegula the edge she needed to capture the opening set, 6-4. But here's what makes this match so intriguing. Despite losing the set, Alexandra Eala never looked overmatched. In fact, many of the rallies told a completely different story than the scoreboard. Time after time, Eala matched Pegula's pace from the baseline. She absorbed heavy ground strokes, redirected the ball with impressive control, and repeatedly found sharp cross-court angles that forced the American to defend. Instead of simply reacting, she began creating opportunities of her own. That's a significant development against a player of Pegula's caliber. Elite opponents don't usually allow young challengers to settle into rhythm, yet Eala continued finding ways to stay in points, extending exchanges, and showing remarkable composure under pressure. Few people noticed just how competitive many of those games really were. The difference wasn't overwhelming shot-making. It was execution during the biggest moments. According to the available match statistics, one category immediately stands out. Alexandra Eala won an impressive 79% of her first serve points, slightly ahead of Pegula's 75%. At first glance, that statistic might surprise many fans. After all, Pegula entered the final as the established star with one of the most reliable games on tour. Yet, whenever Eala landed her first serve, she often controlled the rally from the very first shot. That tells us something important. Her game plan was working. She wasn't struggling because she lacked the power or the ability to compete. She was struggling because of what happened after her first serve missed. That's where the match began to swing. Her second serve became Pegula's biggest target. Instead of allowing Eala to start rallies on equal terms, Pegula attacked those second serves aggressively, stepping forward and immediately taking control of the point. The American consistently forced shorter replies, putting Alexandra on the defensive before rallies could fully develop. The statistics reflect that shift. Eala captured just 46% of her second serve points, while Pegula won 62% in the same category. That gap may not seem enormous on paper. In a championship final, however, it can decide entire sets. Every missed first serve gave Pegula another opportunity to dictate play. Every aggressive return increased pressure on Eala's next shot. And gradually, those small advantages accumulated into the one-break difference that separated them after the opening set. Another area where Pegula capitalized was breakpoint efficiency. Alexandra converted just one of her 4 break opportunities, while Pegula made the most of 2 of her 3 chances. Again, this isn't a story about domination. It's a story about precision. The Americans simply executed more cleanly during the biggest moments. Yet there's another way to interpret those same numbers. Alexandra Eala created 4 break opportunities against the world number 3. That's no small achievement. Creating chances means she was already finding weaknesses in Pegula's service games. The opportunities existed. The challenge wasn't generating pressure. It was finishing the job. And that's exactly why this rain delay could prove more valuable than many people realize. During an interruption, coaches and players aren't redesigning their entire strategy. They're making adjustments. Sometimes those adjustments are remarkably simple. Protect the second serve. Increase first serve percentage. Commit fully to aggressive returns on key points. Choose smarter moments to attack. Reduce unforced errors when leading rallies. Those aren't dramatic changes. They're refinements. And when the margins between 2 elite competitors are this narrow, refinements can completely transform the outcome of a match. Then there's the mental side of the equation. Championship tennis isn't played solely with technique. It's played with confidence. Pegula undoubtedly knows she's still in the stronger position. She owns the first set and needs only one more to secure another title. But she also knows something else. She hasn't broken Alexandra Eala's belief. That's an important distinction. Many young players lose an opening set against a top 3 opponent and begin forcing shots, rushing points, or abandoning the game plan that brought them to the final. Eala hasn't shown those signs. Instead, she responded by taking the early lead in the second set before the weather interrupted play. That speaks volumes about her maturity. She isn't chasing miracles. She's competing. And sometimes that's the most dangerous kind of opponent. Because once belief takes hold, momentum can change far faster than rankings suggest. The biggest question now isn't who won the first set. It's who will handle the restart better. When both players walk back onto the court, they'll essentially begin a brand new chapter of this championship. One player will be protecting an advantage. The other will be trying to complete a comeback. And history has already shown that Alexandra Eala has experience pushing Jessica Pegula far deeper into a match than many expected. That previous meeting may offer valuable clues about what could happen once this final resumes. If Alexandra Eala needs one reason to believe this championship is still within reach, she doesn't have to search very far. She only has to remember the last time she stood across the net from Jessica Pegula. Their previous meeting proved something important. Eala could compete. She could absorb Pegula's pace, challenge her consistency, and force one of the world's top players into extended, high-pressure exchanges. While Pegula ultimately came away with a victory, it wasn't a one-sided result that many expected from such a matchup. Instead, it showed flashes of exactly why so many tennis experts believe Eala has one of the brightest futures in the sport. That experience matters now more than ever. Young players often face a steep learning curve against elite opponents. The first meeting is about discovery, understanding the speed of the ball, the patterns of play, and the mental discipline required to survive at the highest level. By the second encounter, however, those lessons can become powerful weapons. Alexandra Eala now understands what it feels like to battle Jessica Pegula over multiple sets. She knows the rhythm. She knows the pace. And perhaps most importantly, she knows that Pegula is beatable when she's forced out her comfort zone. That realization changes everything, because confidence in professional tennis isn't built through words. It's built through experience. Every difficult rally won, every service game held under pressure, and every successful adjustment gives a player another reason to believe. As this final resumes, Eala doesn't need to convince herself that she belongs on the same court. She's already proving it. Another fascinating element of this match is the contrast in playing styles. Pegula thrives on consistency. She rarely gives away free points, keeps her depth remarkably steady, and waits patiently for opponents to overplay. Her game isn't built around overwhelming power alone. It's built around making smart decisions over and over again. That level of discipline is why she has spent so much time among the WTA's elite. Eala, meanwhile, brings a different challenge. As a left-hander, she naturally creates angles that many opponents don't face every week. Her forehand can pull right-handed players wide off the court, opening space for the next shot. When she plays with confidence, she transitions from defense to offense quickly, often changing the direction of rallies with surprising precision. Those patterns become even more dangerous when her first serve is landing consistently. That's exactly what the numbers suggested before play was suspended. If Eala continues serving at a high first serve percentage while cleaning up the second serve, she'll immediately remove one of Pegula's biggest advantages. And that's where the tactical battle becomes especially interesting. Pegula's return game has been built around attacking vulnerable second serves. Take that opportunity away, and suddenly the American has to construct points differently. Instead of starting rallies from an aggressive position, she may find herself reacting to Eala's first strike more often. That subtle shift could completely alter the rhythm of the match. Of course, championship tennis is never decided by tactics alone. Emotion plays a role as well. Imagine the atmosphere when both players finally return to the court. The crowd has waited through multiple rain delays. Fans around the world have spent hours refreshing live updates. Both competitors have had extra time to think about every point that's already been played, and every point still come. That creates a unique kind of pressure. Some players struggle after long interruptions because their competitive rhythm disappears. Others return even sharper, having used a break to reset mentally and physically. Which category will define this final? That's the question everyone is asking. For Eala, the answer may depend on the opening few games after play resumes. If she protects her early lead in the second set, confidence will continue growing. If she can pressure Pegula's serve immediately afterward, the momentum could swing even further in her favor. Suddenly, the possibility of a deciding third set becomes very real. And once a final reaches a winner-take-all third set, rankings begin to matter far less than composure. That's why this rain delay feels so significant. It hasn't simply paused the match. It has reset the emotional landscape. Pegula still holds the advantage on paper. She's a higher-ranked player. She owns the first set. She's proven herself in countless big matches. But Alexandra Eala has something equally valuable at this moment: belief. Belief built on strong first-serve numbers. Belief built on an encouraging start to the second set. Belief built on previous battles against elite opponents. And belief fueled by millions of supporters who continue to stand behind her, no matter how long they have to wait for this championship to be decided. The final chapter of this remarkable story has yet to be written. Will Jessica Pegula's experience carry her across the finish line? Or will Alexandra Eala complete a memorable comeback and move one step closer to the biggest title of her career? Everything now comes down to what happens after the rain clears. As this championship final prepares to resume, it's worth taking a step back to appreciate the bigger picture. Regardless of how the final score eventually reads, Alexandra Eala has already accomplished something that deserves recognition. Reaching a WTA final is never easy. Every tournament features players with years of experience, proven champions, and rising stars all chasing the same trophy. To navigate through that level of competition requires more than talent. It demands resilience, physical endurance, tactical intelligence, and the ability to perform under constant pressure. Throughout this tournament, Eala has shown exactly those qualities. Time and again, she has demonstrated that she belongs on one of the biggest stages in women's tennis. Every match has added another layer of confidence, and every victory has strengthened the belief that her rise is not a temporary story, but part of a much larger journey. That is why this final carries so much meaning. For Jessica Pegula, another title would reinforce everything tennis fans already know about her. She has spent years establishing herself among the elite, and winning another championship would simply add another impressive chapter to an already outstanding career. For Alexandra Eala, however, the stakes are different. Moments like these can become defining milestones. A young player doesn't often receive opportunities to compete for a prestigious WTA title against one of the very best players in the world. How she responds in these moments can shape not only public perception, but also her own confidence moving forward. Sometimes, the greatest lesson isn't found in lifting the trophy. It's found in proving to yourself that you belong. And based on everything we've seen so far, Alexandra Eala has already delivered that message loud and clear. Another encouraging sign has been her composure. Many players making one of the biggest finals of their careers would allow emotions to dictate their decisions. They might rush points, chase impossible winners, or lose patience when momentum shifts. Eala has done the opposite. Even after dropping the opening set, she refused to panic. Instead, she regrouped, trusted her game plan, and immediately put herself in position to challenge for the second set before the weather interrupted play. That response speaks volumes about her maturity as a competitor. It also suggests that her development is far from complete. Every tournament, every difficult match, and every battle against elite opposition accelerates a player's growth. Regardless of today's result, Alexandra Eala will leave this event with valuable experience that cannot be measured by statistics alone. For Pegula, the challenge is equally fascinating. Elite athletes understand that closing out a championship is often the hardest step. Protecting a lead brings its own pressure. Every service game feels heavier. Every mistake becomes more noticeable, and every missed opportunity can quickly shift momentum to the opponent. That's why the restart after the rain delay could be mentally demanding for both players. Pegula must maintain her composure while trying to finish the job. Eala must balance patience with controlled aggression, looking for opportunities without forcing low-percentage shots. Whichever player manages those emotions better will likely have the inside track to lifting the trophy. One thing is certain. When play resumes, every point will matter. Every serve, every return, every rally could influence the outcome of this championship. For fans watching around the world, this has become more than just another tournament final. It's a showcase of experience versus youth, consistency versus fearless ambition, an established star defending her status against one of tennis's most exciting young talents. And perhaps that's why so many people have remained glued to this match despite the long weather delays. They understand they're witnessing more than a battle for one trophy. They're watching a glimpse of what the future of women's tennis could look like. If Alexandra Eala can complete the comeback, it would be one of the biggest victories of her career and a memorable moment for Filipino tennis. If Jessica Pegula holds on, it will serve as another reminder of why she has earned her place among the world's elite. Either outcome will be deserved, because both players have displayed tremendous quality throughout this championship. As fans continue waiting for the final points to be played, one thing remains unchanged. This match is still alive. The rain may have paused the action, but hasn't diminished the excitement. If anything, It has intensified the anticipation for what promises to be a thrilling finish. So now, all eyes turn back to court. Can Alexandra Eala protect her lead in the second set and force a deciding third? Can Jessica Pegula regroup and close out the championship with the composure that has defined her career? We'll soon have the answer. Until then, the dream remains alive, the trophy remains unclaimed, and one unforgettable chapter of tennis history is still waiting to be written. If you enjoyed this update, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest Alexandra Eala news, match analysis, and breaking tennis updates. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.